Okay, so let's talk about what's going on in the market right now. All right, it's important that you all know what's going on because you want to make good decisions. You know how some people just get it right, right? They buy the right property, they hold it for the right amount of time, they just get everything right. Well, that's what we do, and I'm going to make sure that you get yours right. Okay, let's talk about the market, right? Timing, it's a thing. We always hear in real estate, it's about location, 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 and it is. But maybe, possibly, perhaps, even more important is timing. I'll give you an example. Think about it. We're coming off a super hot market. You could buy a not so great property in a not so great location and still crush because the market was going to the moon. Now the market's softened and when I expected it to go down even. So even if you have a good property, your timing's going to be off, right? If you're trying to get high dollar, you're going to have to write it down. So timing and the location is what we're going to take a look at here. All right, so let's take a look at what timing, why it matters. Look at Destin home sales here, right? In 2002, the market was just starting to roll. Just starting. Look at, you could buy for 2.25 in 2002. It's the steep run up is about to hit. And look what happened in 05. Boom, 530. It went from 2.25 to 530. That's a 57.5% jump in just 3 years. That's good timing. Whether your location matters or not, your timing crushed, okay? However, look at this. Just 3 years later, you went from 530 to 321. That's almost a 40% drop, a 39.4% drop in just the same 3 years. Killer, right? And then in 2011, it bottomed out. Oh my. So it went from 530 to 319.9 before it hit bottom. That's a run up. Stall, fall back. All right, so your timing matters here. It takes more location. Let's take a look at what's going on now. Look what happened in 2019. It started running again, people. It went from 533 and it jumped to $1 million in just a couple of years. It went to the moon. And now look at what's happening here on the houses. We already lost $100,000 from last year to this year. It's starting to fall. Be careful with your timing. All right, so now let's turn around and look at the condos. Same thing? I don't know. I bet it is, though. Let's take a look. 2002, same year, prices were at 234. Couple years later, 520. Again, a 55. That's to the moon, people. Think about it. Your prices almost double in just a few years. That's good timing. But bad timing is when it goes from 520 to 418. That's killer. That's killer. It dropped almost 20%, and then it didn't bottom till 2011. But look, it went from 520 to 210. That's a 60% drop. That's bad timing. Even if you had great location, your timing is going to kill you. So be careful on the timing. What do we got now? What do we got now? Take a look what we got. In 2019, it went from 330 for a Destin area condo, and just a few years later, we're at 526. It's like Groundhog Day all over again, right? And so we got the steep run up. We got a big jump in price. Anybody else worry about 2024? I am. All right, let's talk about 38 home sales. Let's talk about timing because it matters. It matters. Think about this. If you bought a house on 38 in 01, 282,000. Think about that. 282,000. God, I wish I would have bought 1,000 of them. All right, but 282,000 in 2001. And then a handful of years later, it was all the way up to 952, right? That's a 70% jump. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. However, in just 2 years, timing's working against you here, folks. If you bought in 07, you're not happy with what's going on in 09, dropped to 495. And then it kept going, right? It just, or bounced around at least for a few years until lately. Until, look at 2018, where it started at 762. Okay, and just a handful of years later, it's at $1.6 million right now, median sales price. That's almost $1 million up, $900,000. I mean, crazy, right? So timing's everything. The problem is, let's go back up. Can you go back up? Let's look at this for just a second. You see how things begin a run up, then they hit the top, and then they start falling, and then they bottom out? Let's go back down to now. Run up. Are they at the top? And where's the fall off and where's the bottom? Are we worried about 2024 when it comes to 38 houses? I think I am. All right, so let's take a look at condos. Is this the same thing? I bet it is. I mean, it's amazing how this whole timing thing works. Look at an '01, same time frame, 173,000 for a condo on 38. Again. Oh my, if I could only go back in time and start buying these things. But 173K back in '01. By '05, they're up to 600,000, another 71% jump. Massive, massive. But again, what goes up comes down. We see it all the time. Look at '09, they're coming down. And by 11, they're half price. Amazing. Get your timing right on this, people. Here we are again. Look at 2019. We're starting to run. Look at the prices go from 522 all the way up to 926. We have the run up, we got the max, and then we have the fall off in the bottom. Run up, are we at the cap? Are we have a fall off, and do we have a bottom coming? I'm almost certain there's a fall coming for 38 condos. Be careful. All right, let's talk about Panama City Beach when it comes to home sales and what's going on with that, because timing's everything, as we know. 2002, look at that, 123,000, 124,000 for a house. And just a few years later, it's up, what, 60% almost to 300,000. What goes up comes down, as we know, right? 244, that's a big drop in just a couple of years. And what, it bottoms out in 80, at 180 in 2011. Hold on, let's go back up for a second, Katie. So we got a run up, we got a max price, we got a fall off, and we got a bottom. Let's see what we got now. Is the same story going to hold? We got a run up, 2020, it started 339. Holy cow, here we are at 515. That's a 34% jump in just 2 years. We got a run up. Is this the top? I don't know. And is it going to start falling off, and do we have a bottom coming? I don't know how we can't have a fall off and a bottom coming. We got incredible high prices, incredibly high cost of mortgages. Owning and operating is through the roof, and rents are softening. How are prices not dropping? I think they're going to drop. So condos, same story? Probably. Let's take a look. '02, we like that year, right? 137,000 for a condo. God, I wish I was around buying property then. All right, anyway, 137, a couple of years later, we skyrocket to 385, followed by a quick drop down to 270, bottoming at 175. Run up, max, fall off, bottom. We know this story. How about now? Are we going to learn anything? Keep going a little bit more, Katie. Run up at 250. A short few years later, we're already at 440, 43% jump. This is beginning. Is this the top? Do we have a fall off and a bottom coming? Again, I don't know how we can't have a fall off and a bottom. The question is it going to be in 24? Is it going to be last half of 23? It's going to be in 25. It's coming. When's the timing going to change? Right? It's the difference between rich and risk. This is the thing that matters, folks. Pay attention to this. Here's what you watch for. Look for spikes. These big spikes up, followed by a sharp spike down, right? 200 plus transactions over 2 years. That tells you, get ready. Something's about to change. It's going to be big. All right, if we only had some sort of indicator that would tell us when the timing is going to change. Wait a minute. We do. Check it out. Well, the indicator is the number of sales. That's that blue line that you see. Okay, so check it out. Back in 2001, the number of transactions for Destin homes just started skyrocketing. We went from 486 houses sold in the year of 2001 to just a few years later, went from 486 to 890. People were buying left and right in 2004 until they stopped buying left and right. In 04, it started to drop from 890, and it dropped till 2007 down to 315. That is a massive, massive jump or drop, people. And so when the number of transactions started going up, the prices started to come up. There's about a year behind lag. And then when the prices started to fall, look at what happened. The prices started to fall. You can see in 01, it was 188,000. In 05, it jumped all the way up to 530, but then it dropped. It followed that blue line down and it hit bottom a few years later in 2011 at 319. But then we watched it, it's kind of going up. Spike, look at this big spike up again when it went from what, 811 to 1200 in just a few years. That's a massive spike. And look what happened with prices from 533 all the way up to $1 million. They almost doubled. Amazing. But you know what happened? You know what happened in 2021? Price, or the number of transactions fell off. They fell off like crazy and they're still falling. Where do you think prices are going to go? You worry about prices in 2024? I am. Okay, let's talk about condos now. Condos in Destin, what's going on with these things? It's the same thing. Look at this massive number of transactions going up, followed by a steep drop, bouncing around, massive up, followed by a steep drop. It's the same thing, people. Look what prices in 02, they started running at 243,000 for the median sales price. And 3 years later, they're at 520. Again, they almost doubled on that steep run up. But you know what? Everything that goes up comes down. It's the same thing. Look at in 05, they maxed out at 520, and look at that line coming down. In 08, they're already down. The bottom didn't hit till 11 at 210. That is a massive fall off, guys. That is a massive. So follow what's going on with the number of transactions. What's happening now? It went from 517 in 2019, 1579, and it ran up to 2426. That is a big jump up in the number of transactions, which is great because it just pulled the prices up because everybody's buying. Everybody's buying, right? Cheap money, okay? Easy money. But then the Fed got crazy and they said, nope, we got to shut this stuff down. Mortgage rates through the roof. People stopped buying. They can't afford it anymore. And look what happened to the number of transactions. Boom, 24, 26, and we're expecting around 1,300 this year. That's half again. And what's going to happen with prices? They got to come down, don't they? How they're not coming down yet is absolutely amazing. Look for prices to fall. All right. If only we had some sort of indicator that told us when the timing is going to turn so we can get out early if we need to, or even better, jump in when the prices are down. If only, oh my word, if only we had that. Holy cow, we do. We do. Take a look at this. This blue line, that's the number of transactions, and that is a forward indicator of what's coming. So take a look. In 01, we saw the number of transactions for 38 area homes start to climb from 244 sales in 01 to 600 plus sales in 04. It went up, right? This was cheap, easy money, right? Back in the days of the subprime lending, everybody's buying stuff, okay? So we had 615 homes sold in 04. But then look at in 05, the number of transactions started dropping. In 06, they were down to 167. I mean, that's a third. That's a full third. You dropped all that far down. Amazing. And look at what happens with prices. With the run up in number of transactions, the price started at 282. By the end of the run up, they were at 950. Massive run up on price following the number of sales. But then the sales fell, and it took a while for the sellers to figure out what was going on. So our prices are on a lag. Remember, a lag. Remember, a lag. Okay, so now all these years later, here we are, 2019, the number of sales just boom through the moon, right? COVID hits, easy money, cheap money, 2% loans, everybody's buying. It goes from just over 1,000 sales to almost 2,000 sales a year. Crazy. And look what happens to the prices, from 789 to 1.6. That's a massive jump over a short period of time, people. But look what happened to the number of transactions in 2021. By 2023, they went from 1,800. We expect them to be less than 1,000 this year. The number of transactions are down. Are prices going to fall and follow the transactions? I don't know how they can't. I don't know how they can't. You got high prices, high cost of money, high cost to own and operate, falling rental income. How can prices not drop? I think prices are going to drop. Okay, now let's look at condos on 30A. Is this the same story? Probably. Let's look. 01, we know that year, skyrockets up to 04. Same thing, people. The number of transactions climbs fast. What goes up? Look at that. It comes down. It comes down. It went from 378 transactions in 04 to just 130 just a few years later. And prices went from 173 to 600. God, I love this business. But it also went from 600 to 285. It cut in half. So you got to watch what's going on with the number of transactions. How about now? Holy cow. Look at this. 2019, we go from 276. 2 years later, we're almost double at 582. Transactions to the moon. What goes up goes down. And sure enough, they went from 582 in 2021. We expect it to be somewhere around 300, half again this year, by the end of this year. So prices went from as high as 780. Are they going to come down? I don't know how they can't. Just like the houses, I don't know how they can't, people. Watch your forward indicator, the number of transactions. That's going to tell you what's going on. And we can help you with that too. All right, here we go. If we only had some sort of an indicator that we could use, a forward directing indicator that told us where the market's going to be. God, that'd be so much great and easier to do things, wouldn't it? Wait a minute. We do have that indicator. It's the number of transactions. It always leads before prices. Take a look. The blue line is the number of transactions. In 2000, it went from 570 to 871. That's a big jump in just a few years there, right? And what happened with prices? They went from 123 to 300 over that same type of play or period, except it's on a lag. The prices are on a lag. It follows. Because in 03, 04, prices started to drop. They went from 871 to 400. They dropped by 50% in just a few years. And what happened to prices? They got high right at the end here of 05 in that run, and then they hit bottom. They went from 300 to almost 200. That's a significant drop in prices. And they followed the transactions down. So let's just follow them. Look at this nice little line of houses here. They just kept selling a little bit, until 2018 when they just said, that's it, I'm going all in. COVID, easy money, easy lending, everything. Everybody's buying properties. From 950 to 1,300 sales. Went to the moon. But then what happened in 21? What goes up is coming down, folks. Look how much they've dropped already. From 1,331 to 1,100 in just 2 years. They're coming down. The number of transactions are coming down. Can prices not be far behind? I got to think if you own a house in Panama City, you got to be worried. Are condos playing the same game? Yeah, sure looks like it. Looking from 01 to 04, you saw sales jump 744 sales per year, right? 500 to 1,300 for condos in Panama City back in the day. Amazing, amazing. They went from 123 to almost 400,000, huge run up. But again, in 04, but look at this, kind of a weird drop. It took a little bit. They got a little scared and they said, well, wait a minute. And then they fell from 1,280 down to 880. That's a good number of drop. 423 per year, okay? But then look at, they hit bottom in 2011, 180,000. That's a significant drop, right? So let's look, what happened? They kind of bounce around. Oh wait, 2019, here we go again. They go from 1,560 to 25. That's 1,000 units a year more selling in Panama City for condos, okay? It goes crazy in that little period of time, right? And then look at what happened to prices. They went from 280, now they're at 440. Massive run up in price. The prices follow the transactions. So what happened with transactions? I wonder what happened to transactions. Should we look? Let's see. They went from 2,579. We're expecting to be at 1,350 this year. That's a massive fall off. And I just can't stress, how can prices not follow the number of transactions? It's just buyers saying, I can't afford it. I'm not going to afford it. Investors, I'm not going to do it. Look for prices for Panama City Beach condos to fall here in the coming months. What's the takeaway? What's the lesson we're learning? What's the lesson? Here's the lesson, folks. One, always buy the best location you can find. That's just always. And here's why, okay? So when the market goes up, if you got a great location, you're really going to go up, right? If you got a crappy location, you're still going up. But if you had a good one, you're massively up. But then, like we're having now, when the prices start softening and dropping, the folks with the best locations are going to fall the least. They're going to stay down the shortest amount of time, and they're going to bounce up higher and faster. If you got a bad location, you're going to fall like a rock. You're going to stay down longer. It's going to be harder for you to come back up. So always, always buy the best location. And here's the thing, we can help you with that, right? It's what we do. We help people like you get rich buying real estate, buying right, timing it right, writing it out the proper way. So do me a favor and send us an email at info@smartbeachinvestor and let us help you build your wealth and just take advantage of the timing that's about to hit as we ride this thing down and we circle back up. As long as you're up and watching, you're going to know what's going on with this market. But right now, that's what we got going. So give us a subscribe. We come out with content like this all the time, and we'll have more. And give us an email, info@smartbeachinvestor.com, and we'll make sure you're up to speed on what's going on with your real estate.